the terms dodge and burn and heal are synonymous with photography. However, these two new plugins from Retouch for me are looking to bring that to video. This video is not sponsored by Retouch for me, but they were kind enough to let me use the plugins for this video. They were also kind enough to hook up my subscribers with a 20% off. Just follow the link in the description down below. Typically, the terms dodge and burn. Dodge is used to actually lighten up a part of a subject, and burn is used to darken a part of the subject. It helps with retouching and smoothing out skin. And heal is typically used to get rid of scars and blemishes and bags under the eyes and things like that. I'm gonna keep it 100. There's not a lot really to say about these plugins. They can be found on the edit page and the color page. If you open up the effects tab, go to open effects, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find your plugins. Same thing with the color page. Open the effects panel, you find them right at the bottom. With them being in the color page, you can just drag and drop it onto a node and then add more nodes and continue to color grade from there. So you can integrate the plugin seamlessly into your color grade process. We're gonna focus on the edit page. And the reason why I say it's not a lot to say, because if you drag and drop the effect onto your footage, you already see that the effect is already kicked in. There's not a lot of controls. The sensitivity pretty much acts as a opacity slider. I haven't messed around too much with the portrait scale. The footage I've been using pretty much always been close up so I can actually see how the effect applies. Input color space, basically Rec 709 is the default. If you shot something in log, you switch it over to log. I hadn't messed around with it. I just been messing with the Rec 709 for now. The smooth mode, the infinite impulse response basically keeps it consistent throughout the clip. Whereas if you hit the drop down, change it to 2 last frames, you can see there it kind of jumps back and forward. Now these effects are pretty heavy, but you can render them. So if you go to playback, go to render cache and switch it to user, the little red bar might come up. If not, just right click and go to render cache OFS filter and then click on the name of the plugin. Now this here is not fully rendered, but if you leave it set to smooth mode, set to none, you know, it's all these different jumping around. If I go back to infinite, it's gonna have to re-render. So now with the fully rendered, you still get some jumping around depending on the textures, but it's a lot less frequent. This is another example with the effect applied. You'll notice a little bit of flickering, and here she had this little face jewelry, but you notice about right here, here, and here, it still flicker a little bit. So it's not perfect. My time with the plugin, the flickering effect pretty much depends on your subject. Applying the effect to different footages, I got different results. Sometimes it will flicker, a lot of times it wouldn't. It just all depends, really. Now bringing this clip here, I'm gonna apply the dodge and burn to it. The drag and drop, similar to the heal plugin. So go over into the inspector tab. Typically, dodge is used to lighten certain parts of the subject, and burn is used to dark certain parts of the subject, which you can pretty much attribute to these two controls here, depth and warmth. If I go down, you know the skin started getting a little lighter and the effect started to kind of fade away. If I turn up the warmth, with freckles and stuff you do see on the face, it started to lighten up. So you pretty much can go back and forth with these two controls to get the perfect effect that you want. I'm gonna turn the depth back all the way up, and I turn the warmth up just a little bit. And you can see here, it's starting to lighten up the skin. It's starting to lighten up the skin and the freckles. So I'm gonna turn it back down. Going to smooth mode, it has the same controls, but this one here has a soft light layer. So you click on it, it's basically going to show you the parts of the face that is the plugin is focusing in on. The dodge and burn is a lot more resource heavy. Applying the dodge and burn to footage actually slowed down my entire computer while I was waiting for it to render cache, and I went off to check some emails. Everything was lagging, and it wasn't until the render cache was done until I got full functionality of my computer back. Given that it is that resource heavy, I guess that's why you don't really get that flicker effect like you do with the heal plugin. If you have Davinci Resolve Studio, there is a face refinement tool there. I think these plugins will work great in combination with the face refinement tool, because the refinement tool only allows you to do basically what its name implies. It refines the face. You can't really hide too many blemishes and things like that. You can smooth out skin and hide the bags on the eyes. Doesn't really give you the ability to wipe out blemishes and things like that. You go in the color page and type, and go to the search bar and type in face. I'm gonna add it to the subject. I'm gonna click detect face and then track back and forward. I'm gonna uncheck the show overlay. I'm gonna go down to skin texture, and if you turn up the amount, you start seeing a little smoothing. I don't know how well it's coming through on YouTube. If I turn it back down, you can see it started to fade out some of the blemishes. So you can crank it back up, fade some of the blemishes out, and give you a more smoother texture, but however, it does give you like kind of an artificial like glow. If I hit the drop down for skin isolation and click show mask, you can see where it's applying it to. And you can kind of tweak the mask a little bit to change up the results. I'm gonna uncheck show mask and now get more of a realistic texture. And then you can continue going through the tools to help dial in those different effects. Like if you go to eyes and eye bag removal, uncheck it. You see it does a decent job. However, it is very artificial and it's not really getting on this side. If I go back up here to show mask, you see it's mainly only focused on that one side. So if I turn up the range, Turn this back down and then uncheck mask again. Now it's getting more or less moles of skin. It's actually applying the bag. It's actually applying the eye bag removal pretty much all over the skin. So turn down the temp range. That's a little bit better. The face refinement tool, you can clear up some blemishes and things like that. However, it does take a lot more inputs, a lot of more tweaking, and you don't get as good as results as you get with the plugins. At least at the time that I spent with the plugins in comparison to the face refinement tool. While I do think these plugins do have potential, I think they're still too limited in the controls and the functionality of them right now. The idea of applying the effect with very little to none additional inputs is cool, but however, at the same time with the heel, like I said, getting a constant flicker, it'd probably be better if I can track the face and then apply it to certain areas, which I tried to do on the color page, but it didn't work out too good for me. With the plugins being available on the color page, I think you can build out a node tree to make the effect work better for you in comparison to the edit page. With all that being said, I still think these plugins are pretty much in their infancy. They literally just launched last week, so I think there's still some development and some work that needs to be done with them going forward. I've seen videos in past people using the patch tool to patch up certain blemishes and things like that, and I think these plugins, although they do need a little bit of extra work, I think they'll get to the point where you can kind of knock all that out, just drag and drop, maybe add a tracker or two, and get great results. Click here for Retouch For Me Color Match plugin for Davinci Resolve.